listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast, the most listened to daily Miami Dolphins podcast on the internet.
Miami's got the Dolphins, the greatest of all.
Come on, Dolphins fans. Time to fins up.
We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking to my ball. Cause we're the Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins number one.
Good evening, Miami Dolphins fans. How are you today? And thank you for listening to the DolphinsTalk.com podcast on the September the 11th. We never forget. I'm your host, Mike Oliva, joined as always by Big E, Ian Berger. Ian, how you doing tonight?
Man, I am so excited. I don't know if we've ever had a podcast the night before. We've had to have had, because we've had Thursday night games in the past, right?
Yeah, it's rare because we don't
But
play a lot of Thursday night games.
This
one's big.
The Bills, man. This is a huge game for us.
We're going to talk about this later in the show. You know, anyone who says, oh, it's only week 2, it's no big deal. No, this is a big freaking deal, okay? This is a big friggin' deal, and we're going to get into reasons why as the show goes on. This is not your typical week 2 game. This is not, because to me, it's not week 2. This is year 3 of the Mike McDaniel era, and we need to sort of show up at this point. So we'll talk about that later. So, yeah, this is a big Thursday night game. We're going to talk about last week's game a little, but we're going to spend the majority of time talking about what's going to happen 24 hours from now when our Miami Dolphins take on the Buffalo Bills at Hard Rock Stadium in South Florida, beautiful Miami Gardens. But before we get to anything, as always, today's show is brought to you by Caneswear. Caneswear is the place to go for officially licensed apparel for the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, the Hurricanes, your Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, and all of the professional and college teams in South Florida. Looking for the latest jersey, a gift, or the newest hat to hit the market of your favorite South Florida team? Check out Caneswear for their overwhelming selection of sports apparel. Located at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, Florida, Caneswear has it all. Don't live in South Florida? Don't worry. Visit Caneswear.com to shop their inventory from the comfort of your home. And yes, they ship internationally as well. Caneswear.com is the spot that Miami fans shop. That's Caneswear.com. Caneswear.com. Also, please don't forget Dolphins Talk Extra. I dropped a special exclusive Dolphins Talk Extra show a few hours ago at patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. Josh and Aaron, they did an exclusive Patreon show Monday night. We have a bunch of things happening over at Dolphins Talk Extra, bonus podcasts, bonus shows, private message boards, fantasy contests, and stuff like that. Check it out over at Dolphins Talk Extra, patreon.com/Dolphins Talk. All right. Ian, Dolphins beat Jacksonville last Sunday. We're not going to talk about the stuff that happened prior to the game. It's been talked about to death. We're just going to move on from that. Everyone knows the story. Everyone's got their opinions. And when it comes to this is more political than actual football. And no one's going to change anyone's minds on who's in the right, who's in the wrong. It happened. We know what happened. Let's talk about what happened on the field, though, Ian. Dolphins come out with a win. And what were your thoughts from the game?
I felt like I was watching 2 different games. The one through the first 3 quarters, probably about 70% through the third quarter, and then a second game after that, and then the fourth quarter as well, where Miami Dolphins defense basically manhandled the Jacksonville Jaguars offense. But I really felt like the Dolphins came out flat. And in my mind, I kept saying, this team has never played together with the starters all on the field at the same time. So for me, and I know, some people are like, well, you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, you look at some other teams that are out there that, had a rough first game. They say, well, because you're not playing some of your starters during preseason, well, this is their first game to get out all the rust. But my only argument to that is, when you look at the Chargers versus Dolphins game last year, what was different? It's the same exact thing. It's the same exact process, and they had to travel. So I don't know if maybe, and we're not going to talk about, what happened prior to the game, but I don't know if that had a little to do with a sluggish start. There was a lot of emotion probably within that locker room regarding what happened prior to the game, but everybody knocked it off. And I will tell you something that really excited me was hearing that Tua at halftime had some really inspiring things to say to the team. And, you hear guys talking at halftime. You hear guys talking to inspire the team, to get the team going. But it sounds like whatever he said, and I know we're not going to see the video, we're not going to, but whatever he said definitely resonated with the guys in that locker room, and they responded really well. So I feel like we were really lucky to get out of that game with the win. And I'm saying that because had the running back, Travis Etienne, scored that touchdown and Javon Holland did not make that amazing play and punch that ball out of his arm, Dolphins would have been down by 17 points heading into the fourth quarter. And I think that may have been too steep of a climb for them to make. So that play obviously changed it. Then the immediate play with the touchdown right afterwards to Tyreek, which was phenomenal. It made you feel good. And the stadium just changed at the drop of a hat. As soon as that happened, as soon as you just felt it, as soon as that fumble happened, as soon as the Dolphins got that, you just said, this is where things are going to change. And then you get that play from Tyreek, and the rest was history. The crowd backed the Dolphins from that point going forward. So I'm happy we got the win. There was a lot of sloppiness, some coaching questions as well, going for it fourth down when you're still in your zone. Although Doug Peterson going for it fourth down and the 25 or 30 yard line or 35 yard line, that was just absolutely insane. Anyway, I'm happy that we're 1-0. I will take that 1-0 any day over losing the home opener. But now we've got a bigger challenge, and hopefully the focus has now been able to be shifted. Hopefully we've got that rust off, right? We've been able to push that off of our shoulders. And hopefully too, I know we're going to talk a little bit about some injuries and stuff like that, but hopefully the injuries do not have a negative impact on us. So.
Yeah. As I said after the game with Tom on the post-game wrap-up show, and I've said it for years, you never apologize for winning this league. Winning is not easy in this league. It's probably the hardest thing to do, winning games. It's just so tough. You never apologize. But there's with every game, and I say this with every game, and I know some fans always get in their feeling, why are you so negative? I'm not being negative. There's positives and there's negatives with every game. Here are the positives, which the positives really outweigh the negatives. Miami did not play their A game, yet they still won. Okay, and they won the fourth quarter, which is something they haven't done in the Mike McDaniel era really ever. Miami is a front-running team, and I don't say that in a bad way, meaning they're a team that likes to get up on you quick, 21-0, 24-3, and then they like to pour it on. And they'll win 35-10, and the fans have a party and pump their chest. We're great. But when you really take a look at the game, yeah, you kind of pour it on versus a bad team, but you made a ton of mistakes that aren't going to help you when you play teams that are good. This game was different. They were down 17-7. He's going in. They made a play on defense. Then things weren't going great on offense. You mentioned the play calling on social media. I was calling him Mike McGase. Yeah, I felt like I was watching an Adam Gase game with a play calling.
Those short outs. I don't know what it was.
I know what it was, and I'm about to get to it next when I talk about the negatives in this game. But they overcame it. Tua was clutch. Okay, last year versus Tennessee, he has a chance. Lead the team for a first down. Game over. He fails. Then they're losing. Lead the team. Just get him in field goal range. He failed. Week 18 versus the Bills. He failed. This game, Tua was clutch. And the halftime speech is great, but on the field, he made the plays, and it showed some self-growth and some maturation from him that he made the big plays when it counted, even in a week 1 game. Those are the positives. The negatives, it's only really one. And here's the deal. I'm not a PFF guy. I've never been a PFF guy. I'm never going to be a PFF guy. We now live in a society where people watch a game. They wait 24 hours for their PFF grades to come out for them to formulate an opinion. Anyone with an IQ over 2 who knows what they're watching knows that offensive line was bad last week. Robert Jones got called for 2 penalties. Liam Eichenberg, he gave up a sack. How PFF graded him at 80, I'll never understand. And Austin Jackson, he gave up a sack as well. He was okay for the most part, but he gave up a sack. In the first half of that game, Jacksonville lived in Miami's backfield. There's a reason Tua was missing passes just by a little because he didn't have any time. And he's moving, and he was throwing them even quicker than he wanted to. And, if you're going to just, not you, but if people are going to just read PFF numbers and live and die by them, you're nuts. And there's a lot of bad faith actors on social media with podcasts, with blogs, who try, they'll take a screenshot of one play, or they'll try to spin these numbers. Look, the offensive line was bad, and that's why this offense didn't click, especially in the first half. The second half, it was a little better, no doubt, but those two guards are problematic, and it's not something that's going to be fixed. They've been problematic for 3 years, and at this point, I'm not a big fan of Isaiah Wynn. He can't get back soon enough because I cannot watch many more games of Robert Jones playing that poorly, and that was a bad game. So this offensive line was bad. They overcame it for a week versus Jacksonville at home, and that's great. But there's more positives than negatives, but we're not going to bury the negatives just to make people feel good on this show, because that's not what we do. That was not a good performance by that offensive line. Armstead was fine. Aaron Brewer was actually okay for the most part too. Jackson, okay day. But the other two were dreadful. And they got to clean that up. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they got to find a way to do something. But the positives really outweigh the negatives, because that showed me this team is maybe ready to take that next step. That every game that you win won't be a blowout and fun. You're going to have to grind it out, get in a dogfight, and win a tough game. And that's what they did, and they rarely do that. And that made me so stinking happy Sunday night.
Mike, all I'm going to say is don't be throwing poo-poo on my PFF, because I look at them when they give me stats that make me happy. When they give me stats that don't make me happy, I never look at it and I never read it. But didn't they say that, hold on, didn't they say the pass rush, pass protection for the Dolphins were the top 5 in the National Football League on Sunday? So either it's BS or everybody else was so horrible. You saw some of these other games and some of these other scores. That could have been it. Maybe that was it.
Ian, here's all I got to know at PFF. I'm going to look up the score now because I forgot the score, but I know it was a blowout Dolphins win. The Dolphins played the Giants last year. What was the final of that game? It was a blowout. I know it was. Dolphins won
30.
Yeah, it was a lot to a little. I know that. What was the score? I can't find it. I tip my fingers. Where is it? Either way, it was. Oh no, that game would have been 2 years ago. Actually, Either way, it was a blowout. Right? They graded Daniel Jones higher than Tua. I mean, that's why I can't take him seriously. They go, well, Tua threw an interception. It's okay. It's one play. You cannot base your entire rankings. No, it was last year. Why can't I find the score? It's got to be here. Okay, this is driving me nuts now because I want to know the scores. I know it was a lopsided game. 31-16. Okay, it was 31-16. It was never competitive the entire game, and they rated Daniel Jones 14 for 20, 119 yards. Got a higher PFF rating than Tua, 22 for 30 and 308 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's why I can't take him seriously ever. And again, I'm not going to harp too much on the offense. It wasn't good. We know it's going to be an issue this year, but they have to improve if they want to be the team this week like the Bills. But yeah, there's more good than bad in this game. Much more good than bad. And I like that they won a dogfight, and that's what it needed to be. That's what it needed to be. Now, let's get to the news.
Is this going to be mentally okay for Jason, by the way? You see the message I have on the screen, right? You think this is going to be okay for Jason?
Absolutely.
Keep listening. All right.
Hey, look, this is going to be great for Jason. Look, this is a no-spin podcast. I'm going to steal a line from Bill O'Reilly. We're not going to spin the stuff to make it always positive. We shoot straight, and that's always how it's going to be. Same thing with the injuries. Here's what I'm talking about the injuries this year. I've learned one thing with the Miami Dolphins with these injuries. They are brutally honest. I think, this is my opinion, Ian, after they got caught tampering for Sean Payton, got caught tampering twice for Tom Brady, and they lost all those picks in the draft, that they do not want to lose any more future draft picks. That they are just going to be like, look, we're not going to circumvent the injury report like San Francisco did this week, clearly with Christian McCaffrey. We all know it. You know, if they get punished or not, I don't know. I think they should, and they probably will. But Miami has become brutally honest. Everything with Ramsey, everyone thought, once Ramsey signed a new contract, he's going to be healthy. No, you watch him in the first half, he was not healthy. They are brutally honest, and we have 2 injuries really to talk about. One, Raheem Mostert's out this week, which if you're shocked by that, you know you're watching a big game of the Dolphins when Raheem Mostert's in street clothes on the side. He's already injured. And Achant's iffy, game time decision. He did practice some today. It's truly going to come down to Thursday night and how he feels. Hopefully Achant can go because he was literally the third option in the passing game this past week. And he caught 7 passes for 76 yards, had a rushing touchdown, and he's going to have a monster season if he can stay on the field. Achane is special. I love him. But if with no Mostert, you're going to see a heavy dose of Jeff Wilson, who I also loved on last Sunday because Jeff Wilson doesn't look to run around people. He wants to run through them, Ian. And I love a guy who wants to run through somebody.
And we're going to probably see Jaylen Wright too, right? See the young guy.
We'll see him maybe. Here's the deal. This game's too important to be putting rookies out there. You got to be careful with rookies. This game is so stinking important. If Achane plays, you're going to see Wilson and Achane as your top two backs. You'll probably see Wright a little. If there's no Achane, then Wright has to play. But again, Chop Robinson, very minimal impact last week. Mohamed Kamara wasn't even active. This is not a team necessarily built for rookies. This is the oldest team in the league that has to win now, and they're going to go with veterans as much as they can. And I don't blame them. It's, this is it. This is the year to sort of poop or get off the pot, and that they have to win. And you got to be careful with rookies, especially in a game like if we were playing New England this week, or this was like the Seattle game. Okay, put Wright out there. It's fine. This game's too important. I want to see Jeff Wilson, hopefully Achane as well, carrying the rock. Hopefully Achane can go. I really hope he can go, even if it's a limited basis. Hope because he tore him up week 8. He was the only one who showed up last year in week 18 to play.
And he was a rookie last year, by the way, so they had to play the rookie.
Yeah, but that was the end of the year. It's not early in the year. True. But he tore them up last year, and of course, Mike McDaniel then gets away from it late in the game because that's what good coaches do, I guess. All right.
Just one last thing too. I am predicting that Achane will be playing. I think he played on the sprained ankle on Sunday, and I think he's going to wrap up enough to be able to play on Thursday. Just my prediction. I don't know any secret news or anything like that, but I do anticipate him playing tomorrow night.
The fact he practiced today is a good sign.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I was thinking was going to happen. They're going to give him 2 days rest, which actually they weren't even real rest because there weren't real practices those 2 days on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, it's true.
Today was the first day that you could really go out and truly have a walkthrough practice, which is what they did. So
yeah, but my point though about this injury thing, they are the most honest team in the league because look, we do this show for how many years now, and every Wednesday, and especially since the whole tampering thing took place, I can't think of a time where they've fibbed anything. I mean, I know some fans think they fib, and some teams do fib a lot. Miami really has never fibbed. Everything they say is really spot on accurate. And it was proven again last week with Ramsey and that whole thing. It's like, yeah, we gave him a new contract, but he's, it's still iffy if he's going to play. And he played, and in the first half, he looked anything but 100%. As the game went on, I think the hamstring got a little looser and he played better. But the first half, he looked like a guy who was laboring out there. So it's like they are brutally honest when it comes to this injury report, and which I have no problem with because as a fan, I want to know. So I think that's good too. All right. Now, here's the deal. We got a new game this year. But before I get to that, I want to give a shout out to everyone listening at finheaven.com. Everyone go to finheaven.com, the largest Miami Dolphins message board in the internet. Also, a shout out to our friends at the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page run by the great and talented Carlos Hernandez. Me and Carlos we've had a rough week this week with that page. But a lot of stuff happening. We worked through it. We had a fight with, the powers that be at a certain social media channel. But we got through it. And everything's back up and running the way it should. But good Lord, love Carlos. Carlos is the best. Everyone check out the I Am a Miami Dolphins fan Facebook page. And Mike, also, wherever you're listening, what's that?
There's almost 131 Facebook followers for I Am a Miami Dolphins fan right now. That is impressive.
And like Sunday, the people on that channel, I don't even want to say their name because if they hear the name, it probably sets off something. Shut the page down for 24 hours for no reason at all. Literally no reason. So me and Carlos worked. I sort of worked with them a little bit, and once they started to send us updates as to why, it was stupid, and it was a whole thing. But now it's back up and running, and it is the premier Facebook page for Miami Dolphins fans. So everyone go to it because everyone's got a Facebook. Not everyone's got Twitter. Not everyone's got Instagram. Everyone's got a Facebook.
Not everyone has Facebook, but yes, most people do.
Most people got Facebook because even old single housewives got Facebook to find their high school sweetheart back from 1960. More people got Facebook than anything. And also wherever you're listening to this podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, iHeartRadio, YouTube, subscribe. So this is great this week. Here's why. Dolphins game Thursday. Right when the game ends, Tom and myself are going to be live post-game wrap-up show. Then Friday morning, you get Josh and Aaron the Brain. Yes, Friday morning are going to be live with their post-game show. We're going to have you covered after this game. You can go to bed with me and Tom, wake up with Aaron and Josh. And we're going to have wall-to-wall coverage because this game really is so important. And so wherever you're listening to this show, on whatever platform, hit that subscribe button. And of course, if you're on YouTube, smash that like button.
It's only acceptable if all you guys who are doing the show at midnight tomorrow night and who are doing the show first thing in the morning on Friday are wearing your pajamas. That's the only way it's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's the only way.
Party show? Slumber party?
It's going to be late, man. That's going to be late.
Tom and myself do this for Thursday night games, for Monday night games. That's why we're always happy for Sundays at 1.
Yeah.
For that reason right there. Sundays at 1, we just, because the post-game show, it just makes it so much easier. We got some flexibility. Okay. Now, for those of you who've listened to us in years past, this point in the show, we play the Florida Man game. And we played it for 2 years in a row now. Here's the deal. We had to change this up because, well, it's easy. I got Florida stories saved and stashed away from now to 2028. Now till the contract for Tua runs out, I got enough Florida Man stories to use. The problem is when you play some of these opponents, like Kansas City, Indianapolis, yeah, you can find a story, but it takes me 2.5, 3 hours I don't have time to search down these stories in these small states because they're not as rampant as we should say. So for this year, we have a new game we're going to play that is a spin on the Florida Man stories. And I got graphics for it, Ian. It's now time to play Two Truths and a Lie. All right. 2 truths and a lie. Here's how this works. These are all, I'm going to read 3 headlines. Just the headline, not the story.
Okay.
And then Ian has to guess which one of these 3 headlines is a lie. And then we'll go through the stories after and have some fun with it that way. Because I got enough Florida Man stories from now to the end of time. But these other states and these other teams, they make it too tough on me. So, headline number 1. And if you're in the chat, you can play along. No Googling. We're just playing for pride, not prize. All right. Florida priest bites woman during communion scuffle, saying, I am defending myself and the sacrament. Headline number 2, Florida man uses alligator to open can of beer. Headline number 3, Florida man has been sentenced after attempting to bribe a police officer with Sprite and chicken Alfredo. Which one is the lie between those 3 headlines? And no, they're not all true, although they could all be true.
So I'm going to ask the chat to help me. So it's either priest biting the ear during a scuffle.
Not an ear, just a bit of woman.
Bit of woman,
not
okay.
Necessarily an ear.
Or number 2, which
Florida man uses alligator to open can of beer.
Okay. And then
number 3, a Florida man sentenced after attempting to bribe a police officer with Sprite and chicken Alfredo.
My God, we're all over the board in the chat. 3, Keith is saying. So
this ain't going to be as easy as last year's game. I'll tell you.
Yeah, I know. Number 1 is too real to be fake. Number 3 is a lie. For once, it's Florida, David.
And no,
there's so many stories in Florida, right? That's what we've come up with.
Exactly.
There's just way too many stories in Florida.
This is going to make my life easier.
Kat, welcome to the show. He said all of the above. Florida, yeah, absolutely. Headline 1 lie. So I'm actually going to go. I do think that we had a biting priest. I do think.
Think about that statement that just.
I know. I can't wait till you clip that and put that somewhere else. I do think that a Florida man would use alligator to open up his beer. I'm going to say the bribing with chicken Alfredo soup and whatever, and a Sprite.
Not soup, just chicken Alfredo and Sprite.
Chicken Alfredo and Sprite. I think that one is the lie. What we got, Mike?
Okay. You are 1-0 on the season. That chicken Alfredo and Sprite one happened in Ohio. It is a true story, but it happened in Ohio.
Okay.
So some weeks I might just make up the headline. Some weeks I might find one. If one comes easily, that's not in Florida, I can just change the headline by changing 1 word because it's actually Ohio man sentence, not Florida man.
Okay.
And this one happened. So here, and if you saw the picture of this kid, he looks like someone who would bribe someone with. It's a 23-year-old. It's a kid in my book. He was arrested in a sex sting back in December. This happened a few years ago, though, 2018. He thought he was talking to a 15-year-old boy online, but it was actually an undercover police officer. They met. He planned to bring Sprite and chicken Alfredo to the date, and he gave it to the cop, not knowing it was a cop. Now he has to register. He was under house arrest for 120 days, and he's now a tier 1 sex offender. That happened in Austintown, Ohio. So that was the lie. Now, the Florida man with the beer, that's the most Florida story ever. And there's actually a tweet on it, which I should have had the video already. The guy literally is in a boat with a Coors Light, and he leans over with his friend shooting video. The alligator comes up to the boat, and he uses it to open the beer. He's out of his freaking mind. He's going to lose a hand.
Yeah, he's going to be losing fingers soon in his life.
Yeah, that's a crazy one. And the Florida priest one, I think, is recent. Yes, May 23rd, 2024. This headline starts with, "That's not the body of Christ." A priest hit a woman during a scuffle as she attempted to receive communion inside a Florida church on Sunday in what he claimed was a bid to protect a bread wafer. Well, Father Fiddle Rodriguez admitted to the bite during Mass. There are contrasting versions of what led up to the unusual fracas at St. Thomas Aquinas Church in St. Cloud, Florida.
Gosh.
The woman was not unidentified. The woman told cops she attempted to receive communion but was rejected. Who rejects someone in the communion line? I don't know if it was the way I dressed or what.
It may have been the way she
tried
dressed.
He tried to forcefully shove it in her mouth. She backed up, the witness said. She said, "No, don't do that." And she tried to get it, and then it was a fight, and she bit him. This was a 10 a.m. service on a Sunday.
That's in St. Cloud. That's over by Disney World. That's near Orlando. That is in Orlando.
Yes, because it says the Catholic Diocese of Orlando defended the priest in a statement online. Of course they are. They always defend the priest, no matter what horrible things they do. And they also said the diocese that Rodriguez, he didn't know anything about the woman. When the woman pushed him and reacted to the perceived aggression, Father Rodriguez bit her hand so she would let go of the host of the wafer, and the woman was immediately asked to leave. She should have went straight to confession and said, "I bet a priest." This whole story's crazy. It's a typical Florida story, and we're all winners with these stories.
Thank you. 1-0 though, man. Just like the Dolphins.
1-0.
I'll take it.
This is our new game going forward. It's now time to play Two Truths and a Lie. Because I got a lot more Florida stories than anywhere else. It makes it too difficult doing the other ones.
Okay, good.
All right, let's get to Buffalo, Miami. Here's the deal. Miami's 2-13 in the last 15 matchups. All bullshit aside, this is a 3-team race in the AFC. I know the Jets lost, folks. Again, no spin. They're going to be a good team. Their schedule the next 6 weeks. Their schedule the next 6 weeks is Will Levis, whoever the Vikings are throwing out there, Sam Darnold, the Patriots, the Broncos. They're going to beat up on a bunch of bad quarters. It's going to be a 6-1, 7-1 real soon. This is a 3-team race, and these games inside the AFC East mean so much more this year. And we can't expect the Dolphins ever win the AFC East if you're constantly being swept by the Bills. At worst, we have to split. And if we don't beat them this week, if not now, when? It's a short week. They're without their starting nickel back. Milano,
right? And the other guy.
Yeah.
And
no Matt Milano, and their wide receivers stink on toast. If we can't beat them this week, I don't know when we will. Now, there is an elephant in the room, and that is this whole Tyreek incident happened, Sunday. They won, but, you got Calais Campbell doing, 3-4 shows on TV. Tyreek's doing CNN. This is a distraction. And I know some fans of Dolphins want to self-cope. Oh, it's not a distraction. If this were any other team, you'd be saying it's a distraction. Folks, it's a distraction. And on a short week, I'm not going to lie, that does kind of scare me a little. Let's keep it 100. We're not going to lie. But how they overcame last Sunday, they need to do it again here on Thursday. Because I know last Sunday was crazy. It happened hours before the game. Now, everyone's got to get out of their system and move on. Because it's been 4 days later. And this game's so important. But here's what I'll say, Ian. If they lose, we're going to hear it's the same old Dolphins from the media. And you know what? They're going to be right. If we lose, I'm not saying we won't win the AFC East this year. But again, that means you just got to go to Buffalo and you have to win there. That does become must-win later in the year. But if they win, it shows that the core of this team is maturing. They're learning how to win. You win an important game, and you're not just a phony, tough team that blows out the teams that stink. That you can beat the Bills finally and beat them at home in a big game. Because I know we beat them 2 years ago, but it led to nothing. So that's why it's like, who cares? This one can lead to something, and it will show growth in the quarterback, the coach, and the team. So that's why this game is so stinking important.
Yeah, and Mike, the last two wins that the Dolphins had at home against the Bills, really they were both by luck, right? Because the last one
A
was
little bit.
the Bills ran out of time because the one guy didn't run it, or whoever it was, the person who called the ball didn't run out of bounds, and that brought us one of the best memes ever with seeing Frank Reich, in the booth
Ken
throwing
Dorsey.
stuff again.
Ken Dorsey.
Yeah,
Not Frank
sorry, my bad.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
And then the prior game that we won, Charles Clay, the ex-Miami Dolphins tight end, was wide open in the end zone, and the ball just didn't get to him for one reason or another. And that's how that game ended. And that's the last, that's the second time that the Miami Dolphins won. So I think the players know kind of the situation. I think they know that, I think even Tua mentioned the only time that you're going to be able to get some of this off of your back is by actually winning. And what I like is you're hearing it from the team leaders. Mike McDaniel created this leadership committee of a couple different players, and it sounds like they're kind of taking control of some of the messaging, because sometimes it's better that you hear that messaging from your peers versus having a coach say it all the time. And to your point, Mike, yes, I think that, a lot of what happened last weekend is fresh on the minds of all the players. But I also think this is that time for the team to show that adversity that Mike McDaniel likes to talk about all the time, right? Let's see if you can mentally handle what's been happening the last 3 or 4 days and still be able to put a focus on a short week game against one of your biggest rivals in the NFL. So I think it's going to be a great game. I talk a big game about Josh Allen. He does have a problem with turning the ball over. I mean, I'm not saying anything that's not statistically true. Also, as you mentioned, Mike, the wide receivers for the Buffalo Bills are guys that were second string wide receivers last year. And then you've got Keon Coleman, who's a rookie this year. What scares me the most is James Cook and Josh Allen using his legs. That is what scares me the most. That's what turned the game around for the Buffalo Bills last weekend when they were playing the Arizona Cardinals. It was Josh Allen basically taking over that game, running for first downs, running for touchdowns. The one thing is Josh Allen's not 100%, no matter what they say on their injury report. His non-throwing thumb had to be wrapped pretty seriously during the game on Sunday. And if that thing's not working right, it could have an effect on him being able to hold on to the ball if he's running. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But again, we need to be able to control that aspect and force Josh Allen to throw to his players. And Dolphins tend to get some turnovers from the Buffalo Bills. So I think that's going to be one of the requirements in order for this game to end up as a victory for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be humid, really humid. So even though it's at night with no sun, I think it's supposed to rain. Well, it always rains in Florida, but I think it's supposed to rain like prior to kickoff.
It is going to rain. It's been raining all day today, man. Yeah,
it's going to be humid, which, once again, everything is. That's why I wrote an article for the site, and I'm getting a lot of, people are saying, folks, this ain't week 2. This is year 3 of the Mike McDaniel era with your same essential core of Tua, Waddle, Tyreek, Zach Sealer, Austin Jackson, Javon Holland. Like, these guys have been here through this. We got to see our leaders be leaders. You got to see your superstars play like superstars. And this ain't just a week 2 game. Okay, we are 2-13. Think about that. 2, and Josh Allen's only lost once against us ever. He's been in the league for like 6-7 years now. He's only lost against us once ever. This game is, if you want home playoff games, you want to win the AFC East, you can't get swept by this team every year. You're never going to catch them in the standings and have to be one full game better than that. They're too good. Okay, even being a lesser,
right.
There's just too good. That's not going to happen. You have to win this game. It's a short week. You're not traveling. They are. It's going to be humid. It's September. That plays in your favor. And you're probably, if Achane plays, you're going to be more healthy. As crazy as that sounds, with no Chubb and everything else, you're going to be more healthy than they are in some ways. Just, no excuses. Get the job done. This is why we paid Mike McDaniel all this money. This is why we paid Tua all this money. This is why you paid Waddle all this money. This is why you paid Tyreek all this money. This is why you paid Ramsey all this money, to win games like this. And, if they lose, Dolphins fans, don't flip out Friday morning when Colin Cowherd, Stephen A. Smith, and all those guys are going, same old Dolphins. You can't win a big game. Lose the Bills again. Because they're right at that point. You cannot be upset if they lose when they say that. But if they win, just know if they win, it is a clear sign that this might not be the same old Dolphins in 2024, that maybe they found a way to get in these games that are a little bit more of a dogfight and come out on the other side with a victory. They did it last week. And if they can do it this week again and get off to a 2-0 start, before the schedule gets a little easier, Seattle's nothing crazy. It's a long trip, but it's not a crazy opponent. Then you get the Patriots. I know they won. I don't think they're any good still. You got Indianapolis coming up. They're nothing. I mean, the schedule gets a little easier. You get the Titans on Monday night, who Will Levis, I can't see us losing to him twice. So if you can get off to a 2-0 start, beat a team in Jacksonville who's close to like a playoff team, and then beat a team in the Bills who we just never beat, it's so big. That's why this game is so much important. Now, let's talk about some of the numbers here, E.
So real quick before you go into numbers
yeah,
too,
go ahead.
last thing. The other thing too, which is I think important to mention, I don't think there's going to be a significant number of Buffalo Bills fans as we saw the last game of the season. Yeah. Thursday night is tougher. As our Buffalo Bills fan representative, Jason, mentioned in the chat, he said Buffalo fans are afraid of hurricanes. So chances are if they were planning to come down, or maybe they just chose not to come, right, because this wasn't the week to do it. So I think you're going to see. And the other thing is, as we're looking at the ticket sales market, I was talking to a friend of mine who said last year one of his buddies sold us tickets for $1,000 for lower level seats. Don't know why I did that, but he did it. And then this year he said they're going for like $400, $300.
Well, because that was a week 18 game with the AFC East on the line.
And I agree with that too. And I agree with that, but I don't think we're going to see the same turnout we saw for Buffalo Bills fans, which will be advantage Dolphins, of course.
Yeah.
Which it should be, by the way, in our home.
It should be. It should be a home.
Wearing our logos.
Again, with the way for what they charge for tickets, it's not just them. All teams do it. I will never fault a fan for selling their tickets. I don't care who they're selling it to. If you have to pay for 10 tickets a year, counting the preseason games, and if you can sell 1 or 2 to make up, half the money, some of the money, most of the money, go for it. I'm not going to fault a fan. I know it stings because you want your team to be packed with your fan, but especially, let's just all pile on to the Dolphins this past week. We all saw they give your season ticket holders next to nothing. If a season ticket holder wants to sell a game or 2 to make back some money, go for it. You know why? They're doing a money grab. You're entitled to a money grab as well, especially when you haven't won a playoff game in 24 years. Let's just be frank about it.
Yep.
Okay, let's go through some of these numbers. It's just 1 week, but we got numbers, so we're going to go through them. Total offense, Buffalo 12th, Miami 6th. Passing offense, Buffalo 9th, Miami 1st. Rushing offense, both these teams stunk last week. Buffalo 14th, Miami 26th. Scoring offense, Buffalo 3rd, Miami 20th. So no real crazy numbers there, except for the rushing offense for both teams who struggled with that last week. Other side of the ball, these are pretty even for the most part. Total defense, Buffalo 13, Miami 11. Passing defense, Buffalo 11th, Miami 9th. Rushing defense, Buffalo 17th, Miami 18th. A little difference here. Scoring defense, Buffalo 23rd, Miami 9th. But that 23 does factor in the kickoff return that Arizona had. Hey, we got to give kudos to Jake Bailey last week. We haven't done that. Jake Bailey, game of his life. I want to see him back it up and do it again. But you got to give the devil his due. He had a hell of a game last week.
How many games within? How many times did he kick within the 10-yard line and the 5-yard line? 3
times within the 20. He had a 45.9 yard average.
That was I kept saying. And in the first half, let's be honest, I felt like the MVP of the first half was Jake Elliott, or Jake Bailey, excuse me, Elliott. Anyway, so Jake Bailey, I think he was the MVP for the first half. Exactly. If there was a fantasy player for punting, I would have taken Jake Bailey.
Hey, one good game doesn't erase all the bad, but it's a good game. When he plays a good game, we're going to give him his due because he earned it. And, he was a big factor in that win. And plus he held on the winning field goals at the end. I know there was one miss. Again, I looked at that play a couple times. To me, the reason he missed that was because the left side of the line just broke down and Jacksonville was coming through. And I think he saw that and rushed everything and shanked it. I think that was an offensive line breakdown again. If you ask me, you'll never get a straight answer out of them. But I think that's why he missed it. I don't even think. But still, He held on the other two, the big two, the most important two. He held perfectly on them. Jake Bailey, Dolphins punter. This bud's for you, buddy. You had a good game. All right. It's now time, Ian. It's time for the time of the show that everyone waits for to find out, are these really predictions or are they spoilers? I don't know. But here it is. Oh, I gotta find the right one. Oh, here it is.
It's now time for Mike and Ian's Fearless Predictions.
Thursday Night Football on Amazon Prime with the great Al Michaels, the legendary Al Michaels, the greatest football play-by-play man ever, in my opinion, Al Michaels, and Kirk Herbstreit with his dog sitting behind him. Buffalo, New York, where the chicken wings are so dry you have to eat them in the rain. Oh, but this game is in South Florida, so let's focus on the Buffalo Bills and the Bills Mafia. Oh, the Bills Mafia. The men in the Bills Mafia are the reason why there are instructions on shampoo bottles. The men in the Bills Mafia are so stupid they once tried to climb Mountain Dew. The men in the Bills Mafia have disappointed more fat chicks than Jenny Craig. Then you got the females in the Bills Mafia. Did you know, Ian, within the Bills Mafia, Victoria's Secret really is a secret because all the females wear bloomers because they can't get into any cute little nice underwear that Victoria's Secret sells. Oh, God, the females in the Bills Mafia look like a cow with a nose ring, and they got the personality to match. The females in the Bills Mafia have the sex appeal of a school bus fire. Did you know, Ian, that all members of the Bills Mafia have to whistle when they take a poop so they know which end to wipe when they're finished? I kid the Bills Mafia. I kid them. You know what? You know why? Because they do say the first 30 years of childhood are always the hardest. Oh, the Bills Mafia. And, these people reproduce. I've told members of the Bills Mafia, don't reproduce. And, they actually listened to me. The problem is they went home, knitted themselves condoms to use during sex because they're too cheap to buy the one-use disposable kind. Oh, my God, these people. There are approximately 1,010,300 words in the English language, but I could never string enough of them together to properly express how much I want to hit every member of the Bills Mafia in the head with a folding chair. Now, I could go on all night about the Bills Mafia, but we should probably talk about this game. We should talk about this game. We should, but I got a few more things to say. Let's talk about the Buffalo Bills themselves. We have Sean McDermott, who dresses like the mascot for divorce. Then there's Josh Allen, and sources, yes, sources, have told me that Josh Allen's mom closed her eyes and thought of other babies when she was breastfeeding him as a child. You got Von Miller, who's one angry dude. This guy's always getting arrested. I'm not going to say Vaughn has anger management issues, but he's the guy who's when he's walking down city streets, pulls down his pants and poops on pigeons, and then he yells payback at him because he's just one angry dude. And their owner, Terry Pagula, have you ever seen his face? He has one of those faces with that snarky, evil smile that's like he just got joy after foreclosing on an orphanage. Screw the Buffalo Bills. Screw the Bills Mafia. Now we're going to get to this game. As I've been saying, if not now, when? We're 2-13, and that is unacceptable in the last 15 matchups. The Dolphins are healthy enough. Buffalo doesn't have any big weapons at wide receiver. The Buffalo Bills are without their nickel cornerback. Okay, Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle are going to open a can of whoop ass on the Buffalo defense, and Anthony Weaver are going to have the boys ready, and he should be drilling one thing in their head. From the quote from the great Al Davis, the quarterback must go down, and the quarterback must go down hard. If not now, when? And if I'm Mike McDaniel, when you're giving your pregame speech, there's only one thing to say, and it's a quote from the great American actor Chelsea Ross, who played Notre Dame head coach Dan Devine in the movie Rudy. It is this.
You all know what you have to do. Remember, no one, and I mean no one, comes into our house and pushes us around.
Yeah, that's right. Not this time, assholes. Miami 27, Buffalo 24. That's what it's going to be. Take it to the bank.
I love it. I love it, Mike. When first of all, I'm going to give some love to our Buffalo Bills Mafia fans. As I've been going through some things myself personally, I've had actually a lot of Bills fans that have followed me or have seen me on social media. who have wished me well or sent messages.
Don't kill the bit, Ian. It's a bit. Don't.
I know it's a bit, but
It's
I just
gentle
want to
humor.
make sure that they get the love that they deserve. You know, they've got great fans, and then they have not so great fans. So, and it looks like we've got more Bills fans in the chat. So somebody sent out our podcast and said, you need to listen to this guy. Listen to this
joking,
guy.
guys.
Yeah,
gentle humor.
I know. So for me, Mike, you know, I get, this is the time of the week that my family
They hate your
really
guts.
gets angry at me. Yeah, not only because I'm on a podcast and they're kind of being quiet for however long we're going 45 minutes now, but also because they start using their phone. My daughter's trying to do her computer in one of her classes, and then all of a sudden the Wi-Fi password changes, and I hear my daughter in the background. She's like, "Dad, what are you doing?" And I said, I had to change the Wi-Fi password again. You know, it's our podcast night. We've got a game tomorrow night. So this one, though, is a little cryptic, and I'm hoping that you get it. And hopefully the people that are watching understand what this is. So WWJADO question mark, then the number 4, then a T period O period. What is that, Mike?
What would Josh Allen do? Question mark. 4 turnovers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So that's what I'm looking for tomorrow night. 4 turnovers at minimum for Josh Allen. And, you know, again, I think this Miami Dolphins team, I feel like they had a springboard moment during that game on Sunday against the Jacksonville Jaguars late in the third quarter, which continued into the fourth quarter. And I kind of get that feeling that it's going to carry over to this game on Thursday. I think both teams are going to be probably a little sluggish to get started, but I think the Dolphins have not had to travel very far. The Bills have had to travel on a short week. And I think we've got to get this monkey off our back. And why the heck not do it week 2 of the 2024 season? Why not?
I mean,
this is
why
it.
Not us.
Let's go. So I'm taking the Miami Dolphins 27-21. We're going to play till 11:30 midnight, and we're going to be celebrating after the game. Fins up. Let's go.
Let's go. This is it, guys. Because like I said, if they lose, I don't want to hear any Dolphins fan complain about Stephen A. Smith, Colin Cowherd, Craig Carton, or whoever saying, "Oh, same old typical Dolphins. Can't beat a good team. Can't beat the Bills." Because it's right. But if they win, it gives us hope this year might be different. And I say this year because then it gives us hope. You know, at worst, we split with Buffalo. You got the Jets twice so late in the season. One game's in December, one game's January. I'm not even thinking about them now. But it gives us hope that this year might be a little different. We cannot consistently get swept by this team and think you're going to catch them in the standings again by one full game. They're too good. We're too. It's just not going to happen. So this game is uber important. It's a big AFC East game. You know, just find a way to win.
And everybody, I see Fins NJ put his prediction in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah, everybody.
Start putting up your predictions in the chat.
Jason,
we'll share them here.
What are you predicting, man?
Put your predictions up as we wrap this up here. So again, Tom and myself, right after the game's over, we'll be live with the post-game wrap-up show. Josh and Aaron, the plan of now is Friday morning. We'll be live with their show Friday morning, breaking down this game. Then we got a little bit of a break here. Got this weekend off, obviously, with no game. Then next week, Seattle, that cross-country trip going out there. So, yeah, this is if they can get off to a 2-0 start and win 2 home games. Jacksonville's a solid team. I think we saw that last week. They're not, they're not the best team in the league, but they don't stink. And I think, obviously, the Bills we know have been just something we just can't get past for the most part, folks. I think people kind of understand what I'm saying. If not now, when? I know we beat them 2 years ago, but it led to nothing. So that game means nothing in my book. This is the time to make it matter. And hopefully we do. I mean, look, this is why people spend all that money on tickets and stuff for games like this. This is why fans, will sign up for 5 streaming services to watch every Dolphins games for games like this. This is why fans follow this team in the offseason, in March, April, May, June, when there's not much going on. Let's be honest, for games like this. And, we don't want to be the same old Dolphins. We joke about that comments, the same old Dolphins, because it's been true for 20-something years. Let's not have it be true. And let's try and get in front and change the perception of the organization. And let's get off to a nice start here and beat these stinking guys. I hope this guy's right. We get a convincing win. I'll just take a win. But if it's convincing, that's great. I'll just take a win, though. So that's all for today's show. Everyone have a great, Wednesday evening. Have a great Thursday. I know for a lot of people it'll be tough to focus at work tomorrow when you got that game going on at night. Everyone have a great Thursday. Follow Ian on Twitter, X, whatever we're calling it this week, at Ian693. Follow myself on all social media, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Twitter at DolphinsTalk. Check out the website, DolphinsTalk.com. We got a bunch of great writers doing amazing work. Austin's put up a few great articles. Ryan Van Hoover has. Jacob's put up a great few articles. Jose has. Our writing staff has really improved. Jason Sarney as well. We got so many great writers putting up great stuff. You can read about in their opinion pieces. I put up a few articles this week. Check them out as well. DolphinsTalk.com, the website. And of course, Patreon. Our Patreon. If this isn't enough and you want more me, or you want more Josh, more Aaron, and more of fun stuff, again, patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. It's only $3 a month for the lowest form to get in. If you want to give us $5, there's a $5 tier where you get a little bit more, but extra podcasts. We're going to have some interactive shows starting soon as well. And also, we got games, we got contests, we're giving away prizes. We got a private message board. So if you don't like social media and like 10,000 people jumping down their back, if you have an unpopular opinion, private message board, you don't have to put up with that nonsense. And it's just a chill environment. So everyone check out patreon.com/DolphinsTalk. Ian, have a great time at the game tomorrow. Have fun.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you for listening. And as always, no matter if you're rooting for the Bills or if you're rooting for the Jets, we must put an end to highway profanity.
Fins up, everybody. Let's get this W tomorrow night. Let's go.